Welcome back to Ivy Joe's Reviews. Today, we are reviewing the 2023 movie Cobweb. This movie stars a great lineup of Woody Norman as Peter, Lizzy Caplan as the mother Carol, Antony Starr as the dad Mark and Cleopatra Coleman as his concerned teacher Miss Devine. In this psychological horror film, Peter is the subject of constant bullying, gaslighting and manipulation. Set around the holiday of Halloween, the movie's stage revolves around the main trio or family. Both Carol and Mark are hostile to the point that it can be said that they are the worst type of helicopter parents that can be found. Spoiler alert. The extremes taken by these parents is the cobweb of lies that impacts Peter and the community around them. Peter is bullied as soon as he gets on the school bus, at school, during recess and even after school. When Miss Devine is introduced, the amount of bullying and lack of self-worth he exhibits are evident to even this new entry into Peter's life. The bond between Miss Devine and Peter grows at school in contrast to the hostility and gaslighting Peter receives from his parents. The noises in the walls become rapid and evident to Peter as there seems to be something living within them. The movie does not explain whether the thing in the walls is of supernatural, mutated or superhuman nature. That part of the story is very ambiguous and never explained. So, you will need to understand how this is occurring. Just know that Mark and Carol prolong the psychological strains that happen throughout the film, not because of their loving attitudes as parents, but to protect their own self-interests. This is in direct conflict with Miss Devine, who sees Peter, as the viewer does, a young boy under extreme duress that needs to be protected and looked over. Yes, the formula here is the same as many psychological horror films involving the classic teacher-student relationship. The teacher is usually female and her stereotypical need to fulfill her empathic need to protect that student under duress, involves her and puts her at risk as well. There is a subplot surrounding Halloween, Rebecca Holbrook, a girl who went missing years ago. And the community around them is still dealing with the loss. As it becomes a myth that impacts the community, and is the reason that Mark, Peter's father, does not want Peter to trick or treat. Part of the manipulation that is the underlining trickery done by the parental duo. Although abusive to Peter, their extent of their abuse is shown by that which is in the walls. That thing reaches out to Peter to push him forward in fighting against all his abusers. Against his parents to his bully at school, each receive an extreme reaction for their abuse. The bully Brian, played by Luke Busey, is your classic throwback to the movie bullies of the past. At one point, Brian attacks Peter on the playground, after school, and destroys the pumpkin he carved in class for Halloween. For this, Peter, with the manipulation of the thing in the walls, makes Brian pay for this latest offense. Please note that this leads to a direct confrontation with Brian at the end of the movie. In this film, Miss Devine attempts to get at the heart of the matter and visits the family home twice, in order to further gain evidence of the abuse that is occurring to Peter. At one point, as Peter is locked up in the house, one of her attempts, although fruitless, puts the parents on notice. Out of the 3 attempts, the last one is the attempt that again, at the end, puts her at risk. Not to give too much away, the ending of Cobweb seems to be rushed and very convenient in tying up all plotlines. From the bully at school, Peter's abusive parents, and the subplot line of Rebecca. Obviously, the thing in the walls gets free with Peter's help to be the catalyst or a solution to all that is impacting Peter. However, as a result, as the film ends, spoilers, Peter survives but is scarred by this encounter. The teacher-student relationship evens the odds, as the deck is cleared. The plot lines are, although simple, it does in a way, devolve into how psychological traumas occur and impact the development of young children. The abuse that Peter endures has him react in ways that his own personal morality and ethics are warped by those around him. In turn, Peter becomes a reflection of those who abused him, to escape his situation. The ending, at least, implies that these demons will be with Peter for a lifetime. And in fact, as we know from basic psychology, this experience will impact his actions, decisions and fate moving forward in the viewer's mind. And possibly leaving room for a sequel, remake or a revision in the near future. Although most audiences give this movie a mid-type scoring, critics score it even lower, so we say just give it a try. Then please come back and give us a comment here at Ivy Joe's Reviews. After viewing Cobweb, were there any characters that you would give more of a backstory to their characterization? Would you like to see a sequel to this movie? Or a prequel that tells the origin of the subplot and the underlining story of Peter's family? Also, did you see this scene that was an obvious nod to John Carpenter's Halloween? Again, thank you for listening to Ivy Joe's Reviews. Please comment, like, and subscribe. See you next time.